now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
Put on your yarmulke. Here comes Hanukkah. So much Funukkah to celebrate Hanukkah. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me here once again for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, exclusively here as always on the Casa D18 Studios YouTube channel. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade JJ Williams. Thanking you for joining me and coming back once again here to the theater. And again, the theater looks a little bit different today. And it'll be looking like this for the next 8 nights. I'm doing something a little bit different here. In the past, I've done Christmas movies in the month of December, but I've never really given any love to Hanukkah. And I don't really consider myself Jewish. I'm not Jewish by nature. You know, my mom was half Jewish. Her father was Jewish. Her mother wasn't. And as it is in the Jewish faith, if the mother is Jewish, the child is Jewish. Her father was Jewish. So even though she is half Jewish, making me a quarter Jewish, she was never raised with the Jewish Hanukkah traditions. It was always Christmas, 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 which is how I was raised. Now, my daughter's mom is Jewish, thus making my daughter Jewish. And ever since I got with her mom back in 2005, so almost 20 years now, I have tried to understand and support and enjoy the Hanukkah traditions that come same time of year as Christmas. As a matter of fact, it's technically Christmas evening as night one of Hanukkah is beginning this year. So the balance there. Sometimes Hanukkah ends and Christmas begins. Sometimes Christmas ends and Hanukkah begins. Sometimes Hanukkah is early enough in the month that it doesn't really conflict. But in our house, my daughter's mom, my daughter, and I kind of came up with our own, and the term is out there, so we didn't coin the phrase, but we came up with our own little Chrismukkah, where we would always acknowledge the nights of Hanukkah, and we would acknowledge Christmas. So there was a balance between the two holidays, and my daughter gets to celebrate both. She still does. She will be 16 next month. Hell, she'll be 16 in about 2 weeks. But we always put a good focus on both holidays. And so since I decided to do this Christmas soft reopening of the channel, I figured that, let me look into and see if I can find Hanukkah movies that I could be doing. Of course, January 1st is going to be my big relaunch. And while there are no shortage of Christmas movies every year, thanks to Netflix, Lifetime, and the Hallmark channels, despite my research, there are very few Hanukkah films. However, I found 8 movies to discuss over the 8 nights of Hanukkah. So as the sun goes down each night on the Festival of Lights, we'll discuss a new movie. Today, it's a film called The Hebrew Hammer. Now, The Hebrew Hammer was released theatrically on December 19th, 2003, and it's the second oldest movie we're going to be covering. It's an American comedy film written and directed by Jonathan Kesselman. It stars Adam Goldberg, Judy Greer, Andy Dick, Mario Van Peebles, and Peter Coyote. Now, the film parodies blaxploitation films and even features a Melvin Van Peebles cameo as Sweetback, which is a reference to the film Sweetback's Badass Song, which in and of itself is a 1971 blaxploitation action thriller film that was actually written, co-produced, scored, edited, directed by, and starred Melvin Van Peebles. Now, Sweetback's Badass Song was also the very first credit for Mario Van Peebles, who played the titular character as a young boy. This film, The Hebrew Hammer, begins with a flashback to a young Mordecai Jefferson Carver, played by Grant Rosenmeyer. Now, at school, Mordecai is tormented by his fellow students as well as his teacher for being a Jewish child in a public school that is predominantly attended by Christians, and for celebrating Hanukkah while everybody else celebrates Christmas. Although his teacher does encourage her students to respect Mordecai for who he is, he ends up feeling further alienated as he walks through his neighborhood and he sees a seemingly endless number of Christmas decorations and window displays, celebrating the holiday and announcing that Jews aren't welcome. As he lies down on the sidewalk in front of a store that says, "Jews okay," and spins his dreidel in order to cheer himself up, Santa Claus walks by and he crushes the toy under his boot and then gives Mordecai the finger. The scene then changes to the present day with Mordecai, now played by Adam Goldberg, as the Hebrew Hammer, a certified, circumcised Dick who has dedicated his life to defending Jews, and Dick, of course, being private detective. His snappy dress, which is a cross between that of a pimp and a Hasidic Jew, and his tough guy demeanor have made him a local hero within the Jewish community. Jews and African Americans have even enjoyed a tenuous peace with the white Christians over the previous few decades because the current Santa, portrayed by Richard Reel, who is the son of the cruel Santa who stomped Mordecai's dreidel many years earlier, has pursued a policy of inclusion and tolerance. However, this Santa is murdered and replaced by his son Damien, played by Andy Dick, who seeks to destroy Hanukkah and Kwanzaa, thus reserving December for Christmas alone. Mordecai is reluctantly recruited to stop Damien, gaining allies along the way, including love interest Esther Blumenbergensteinthal, played by Judy Greer, as well as the Kwanzaa Liberation Front's leader, Muhammad Ali Paula Abdul Rahim, played by Mario Van Peebles. And no, people, I'm not making these names up. Remember, it's supposed to be a parody of exploitation films. The fight then takes them to exotic locales such as Israel, Kmart, the Jewish atomic clock, which is outside of Jerusalem, and the final battle taking place at the North Pole before our movie comes to its close. Now, despite The Hebrew Hammer being released in 2003, this film was a new one for me. And if I'm being brutally honest, keeping it 100, the only Hanukkah movie I'd ever seen prior to watching these films that I'm reviewing was the Adam Sandler animated film, 8 Crazy Nights, which is how we'll end our Hanukkah holiday, despite the fact that I used the first line of Sandler's Hanukkah song to intro this video. Now, I've discussed on multiple occasions over the past few weeks how Christmas movies, holiday movies get held to a different standard and why that is. How they're also formulaic, even more so than a traditional romantic comedy, and how, for me, they come down to one simple thing. Was I entertained? We can all admit that the plots of holiday movies are often void of depth because they want you to believe in the impossible, believe in miracles. In rare cases where a holiday movie script does possess depth, as I've said before, you found a true gem. This film, The Hebrew Hammer, does not possess that depth. As a matter of fact, I often found myself wondering what they were thinking in making this film. From the reviews I've read, it seems to either be a you love it or you hate it type of ordeal. And I feel like it was very hit or miss. It did have its moments where I even snort laughed, while other moments I sat silent and emotionless. It definitely was not what I was expecting from a parody film. I saw the description tagline, quote, an Orthodox Jewish blaxploitation hero saves Hanukkah from the clutches of Santa Claus's evil son. And I thought, this sounds ridiculous and hilarious. Boy, was I wrong. Maybe my expectations were just too high, thinking it would be as funny as Austin Powers or the original Scary Movie. I would have even settled for as funny as Undercover Brother. I just think it missed more than it hit. I will say this, I did enjoy Richard Reel as Santa Claus, for as brief as his role was. This was the first time that he ever played the role of jolly old St. Nicholas, but it wouldn't be the last. He would actually go on to portray the man with the bag again in 2008's Our First Christmas, 2010's The Search for Santa Paws, 2011's A Very Harold and Kumar 3D Christmas, 2014's The Three Doggeteers, 2018's Puppy Star Christmas, as well as a 2012 episode of The League and a 2014 episode of 2.5 Men. When it comes to my rating for this film, I give it 1 star. And I feel like that's being generous. But enough about my opinion. What did you guys think of The Hebrew Hammer? Have you seen it? Let me know. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and let's have that conversation, that discussion, that debate, that discourse that I'm always trying to engage you, my loyal viewers, in. Until next time, when we return to the theater for another brand new episode of Renegades Reviews, exclusively here as always on the Casa D18 Studios YouTube channel, I have been your host, the Renegade J.J. Williams, thanking you for tuning in, and I will catch you guys next time.